So this story is very close to my heart because it exonerates me. And so they've been lying about COVID. They've been lying about the vaccines. They've been lying about herd immunity. They've been lying about natural immunity. They've been lying about masks. They've been lying about children. They've been lying about everything. Every goddamn thing. Who would have thunk that Big Pharma and the government would lie to us? For profit. I am flummoxed. I am beside myself with slack-jawedness. Is that slack-jawed? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I think so.
And so they always say about so my big thing was when they came out with mandates, I was here to inform people why mandates were a bad idea. And so I stuck my chin out and people started calling me anti-vax. I was saying there's the other ideas. First of all, what they're saying about the vax is a lie, because this is a lie.
You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
So that's a lie. And this guy put this together. I think, what's his name? Milk Bar TV.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very funny. So he shows people saying things like that, and then they show him getting COVID. So let's watch it and laugh and let's have fun.
You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Hey, folks, guess you heard this morning I tested positive for COVID.
When people are vaccinated, they can feel safe that they are not going to get infected.
Dr. Fauci says he has COVID again.
Oh!
If you've done the right thing and gotten vaccinated, you deserve the freedom to be safe from COVID-19. And this morning, I learned I tested positive for COVID-19 as well.
Until all of us are part of widespread vaccine programs, no one is safe.
New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has tested positive for COVID-19.
If you are vaccinated, you are protected. They are effective.
Vice President Kamala Harris has announced that she's tested positive for COVID-19.
With 3 doses that you'll be prevented not just from serious illness, but from getting this virus, this Omicron variant, and therefore giving it to others.
Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews is in quarantine for 7 days after testing positive to COVID.
So I'm fully vaccinated. It gives me some comfort. The fact that that's there, not for myself so much, but the people I'm coming into contact with.
Anthony Albanese has just tested positive for coronavirus.
Having received 2 doses of AstraZeneca, it's a very effective vaccine, protection from symptomatic illness and therefore risk of transmission to others.
It is great that companies have developed safe and effective vaccines.
No.
But we can't seem to make them quickly and
safe and effective. Well, I think the point of this video mashup is to speak to their level of effectiveness. So I knew this. So that's why I was against mandates, because I had on the guy who invented the mRNA vaccine technology on my show. And he told me that there's no way we can vaccinate our way out of this pandemic. So I knew that over a year ago, before they started wanting to mandate vaccines. I knew this. And why? Because it's a leaky vaccine. What does that mean? What's a leaky vaccine? That means that it doesn't stop you from contracting the virus. It doesn't stop you from spreading it. In fact, Fauci has said everyone's going to get it. So if everyone's going to get it, who do you care if you get it from a vaccinated person or an unvaccinated person? Because with vaccinated people spread the virus all the time. In fact, they call them super spreaders because they don't feel so sick, so they spread it more. So these were lies when they said this stuff. And I knew they were lies when I saw Joe Biden say that. If you get the jab, if you get the vaccine, you're not going to get COVID. I knew that was a lie. That was not true. And he wasn't making a mistake. They were lying. That's what politicians do. And why would they lie? For their donors. So he didn't get taken down from CNN for saying that. Hey, there's more to this.
to stop the global spread that threatens all of us.
Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren just announcing she, in fact, has tested positive for COVID.
With the ongoing circulation of the COVID virus in our communities. If you're eligible, as of today, to get your third dose, please do so.
Like so many other Victorians and Australians, those dreaded double lines came up.
So if we put a clamp on COVID-19 and prevent it from spreading from anyone, even if they have minimal symptoms.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau just tweeting out that he has tested positive for COVID. This would be the second time the Prime Minister has tested positive.
You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Hey, folks, guess you heard this morning I tested positive for COVID.
So those people, now imagine if you said the opposite. Imagine if you came out and you said, hey, if you get the vaccines, you're going to get, they would have kicked me off YouTube, kicked me off Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and then everybody would call me crazy. But you could say the exact opposite, which is false, and nobody still says a word about it. No one says, why was Joe Biden spreading misinformation about the vaccines? Why was Kamala Harris spreading misinformation? Why was Elizabeth Warren spreading misinformation about the vaccine? Why is everybody in government spreading misinformation about the vaccine? No one ever asks them that. They don't get called that either. They don't get called spreaders of misinformation, even though they did. You want to see a great big spreader of it? Here you go.
Means for instead of the virus being able to hop from person to person to person to person, spreading and spreading, sickening some of them, but not all of them. And the ones that it doesn't sicken don't know they have it. And then they give it to even more people because they didn't recognize they were, right? Instead of the virus being able to hop from person to person to person, potentially mutating and becoming more virulent and drug resistant along the way. Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus. The virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else. It cannot use a vaccinated person as a host to go get more people. That means the vaccines will get us to the end of this. Means for instead of the virus.
Not true. Wasn't true. Isn't true. Was never going to be true. I brought on Dr. Robert Malone, came on our show, told us that you can't vaccinate your way out of this. And people like that who get paid by Big Pharma, $30, $40 million, she makes like $100,000 a day. Then that's what they say. Not one skeptical thought in their head about the vaccines or Fauci or Collins or the CDC or the COVID policy or lockdowns. Not one skeptical thought. All they had to do was find your fear point, and they coupled it with your Trump hate. And they had you. And some of my good friends, they got them. They got inside their brain, and they found their fear. Some of my good friends who wagged their finger at me about my coverage of the vaccine, which was correct. My coverage was correct. They tried to argue to me that the vaccine would stop it, and that we could get out of this pandemic if everyone just got vaccinated. That wasn't the case. Everyone's vaccinated, and everyone got Omicron. Everyone got COVID. Fauci got it twice. So, how effective is a vaccine? You have to it loses any protection in a couple of months, or sometimes less. What effective? And now we have Bill Gates saying, Bill Gates said that, well, we didn't know a lot about the virus. We didn't know that, well, it had a very low fatality rate, and it mostly affected only elderly people, kind of like the flu, but different. That's a quote from Bill Gates. You know, the hospitalization rate for COVID was 0.89%. Under 1% hospitalization rate. And the people who were hospitalized were obese. 77% of the people hospitalized were obese or overweight. And the average age of death from COVID was over the age of life expectancy. But man, they sure didn't know how to scare the shit out of us. And then they gave you propaganda like that made you turn on your neighbor. That's what Rachel Maddow is doing there. She's making you turn on your neighbor. And by the way, I would say half the people who I know personally who haven't been vaccinated, half of them would lean conservative, half of them would lean Democrat. So this isn't a Trumper thing. As far as my anecdotal evidence can tell you. But anyway, and by the way, I have to choose my words because I'm still afraid. I don't know what I can still say or not. Even though everybody kind of knows that the COVID narrative is now bullshit, people won't admit that they were wrong about it. People will never say it. I have friends who still wear fucking kerchiefs, cloth masks.
People lost their jobs.
People lost their jobs over this. People lost their jobs. People, worse, I got injured. Lots of people got, anyway, it's just, and just like with Russiagate, and just like with Syria, they'll never admit they were wrong. They'll never say, hey, you know what? I admit I was wrong. There was nobody more afraid of the COVID virus than me. Nobody. I was crazy. I got an argument with my brother because I felt he wasn't locked down hard enough. We got a big argument. Mostly came from me. Yeah. So I believe me, I know what it's like. And if you made that mistake too, and you were uncritically swallowing the propaganda from Fauci and the government and Big Pharma and Rachel Maddow, but you now know better, that's fine. Admit it, say I was wrong, and move on. That's all I need, but that'll never happen, I'm telling you. Those people, I still see them wearing cloth masks. I'm not kidding. You see somebody with a kerchief? That's a virtue signal. That's all that is. Okay. And so now you have the video. So now they always would like to say that, oh no, the vaccine was always just about to keep you out of the hospital and keep you not getting sick, super sick. No, they said it would stop the pandemic. That's what they said. And that's why some people, and my friends, people close to me, who I no longer talk to over this, they believed her and they believed Fauci. And that's why they wanted to force other people to take an experimental medical treatment that has side effects. That's why they wanted to do it, because they believed this and they didn't do their own research. They didn't look into it. They didn't even watch the fucking interview I did with Dr. Robert Malone. My friends who were close to me, who were critical of my coverage of COVID and the vaccines, didn't even watch my interview with Dr. Robert Malone, so they know nothing about it. They would have arguments with me saying that the vaccine does stop it will stop the spread. It will end the pandemic. That's what they would say, tell me. And I'm like, you guys don't know anything about what you're talking about. It wasn't based on science. And the whole idea of following the science or trust the science, you don't trust science, you question it. You don't have faith in science. It's not a religion. Science becomes science because people are always questioning it. That's how we got Einstein. He didn't go, Ed Newton already thought about this. We're done. And they shame you. So that's always bullshit. When they say, no, the vaccines were always to keep you out. That's not true. And that's why we got to this point. And that's why people lost friendships. That's why people lost jobs. People, they still demand boosters and shit in a lot of theaters.
Federal jobs, I believe.
Yeah, they're still doing that. Come see our stand-up comedy. We're going to be in Los Angeles, Bakersfield, Indianapolis, Louisville, Cincinnati, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Detroit, lots more. Go to JimmyDoreComedy.com for a link for all our tickets.